Elon Musk and President Trump are at all-time war now. What does this mean for Tesla? Things escalated quickly, with the president threatening to cancel Elon's government contracts, and now Elon suggesting to create a new political party and even dropping a bomb that Trump is in the Epstein files. This can't be good for investors and the nation in general. We've got the bulls here with us today. We've got Tesla boomer mama, the queen, Alexandra Merz. We have Cern Basher, the bot bull, and Joe Bhakdi, the pioneer bull. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Herbert.
Hey, Herbert.
Hi, Herbert.
I'm going to quickly go through what happened. Things are still developing every minute. Something is happening. Both Elon and Trump are tweeting away. Earlier today, we had President Trump say Elon is upset because we took the EV mandate, which was a lot of money for electric vehicles. They're having a hard time with electric vehicles, and they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. Elon knew this from the beginning. He said, I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot. He said, I don't know if they will have a great relationship anymore. And then Elon replied to defend himself here. He said, whatever, keep the EV incentive cuts in the bill, even though no oil and gas subsidies are touched, fair and fair. But ditch the mountain of disgusting pork in the bill. In the entire history of civilization, there's never been legislation that both big and beautiful. Everyone knows this. Either you get a big and ugly bill or a slim and beautiful bill. His position has been that the bill is so big that it kind of negates any work by Doge, and it's going to make America in debt. False. This bill was never shown to me even once, because Elon said, well, we showed you the bill, right? And it was passed in the dead of night so fast that no one in Congress could ever read it. Then it escalated. Trump said, well, you would not, or Elon said, hey, he didn't even, I even helped him win the election. He's not, he's not grateful for that. And then Trump said, no, you didn't help me with the election. I would have won anyways. Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and Republicans would be 51-49 in the state. Such ingratitude. Elon then said this, is it time to create a new political party in America? Actually represents the 80% in the middle. So he's threatening that he's going to create a new party. So President Trump said this, I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. If this bill doesn't pass, there will be a 68% tax increase and things far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country in a path of greatness, make America great again. And then Donald Trump also said this, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do this. Elon responds saying, in light of the president's statement about cancellation of my government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. Then he said this, time to drop the really big bomb. President Trump is in the Epstein files. This is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. So this has gone, and not only is it a war of words, this is all a war. Okay. Why don't we start with you, Alexandra? What's your thinking about everything that happened?
Sure. Well, thank you for giving me the first slot to go. And it is another day in Elon's world. Never a dull moment, right? I wanted you to first bring up that chart I sent you, Herbert, please, because yes, this is the biggest loss in a single day in dollar terms, not in percentage terms, but in dollar terms for a Tesla stock. But there were very similar days before, including some of them in 2025. So, just this is what it is, but we have seen stuff like this before, not in this subject, but on many other matters. So I just want people to become relative about it, to realize there's lots of noise about it, and to think, do they even remember the 9 other days that were on that chart? Because probably they don't. They thought at every single moment that it was the biggest catastrophe and war and whatnot. Did I have to hear these last couple of hours? And then they even forgot about what happened. So if you can remember those 9 other days and what happened on those days, good for you, but I doubt that you can. And then the other, big thing outside of Tesla's reaction is the work that Elon started with Doge, and that is now heavily criticized even by Republicans, And the fight he's now doing for the budget, he's not doing this for himself. I mean, I think it's actually despicable how President Trump tries to bring this back to EV credits, and I'll get to that in a moment. He's doing that because he honestly thinks this is what is needed. And I could not agree more with him. And most of us do agree with that. When we saw what happened with that US aid stuff, I mean, it was crazy stuff. And it was overdue that somebody finally attacked it. And President Trump was very pleased to send Elon do it. He called it his tech support, and he probably all forgot about that now. So the long-term gain for the United States by both these initiatives that Elon is doing, even though this one looks much messier than the Doge one, are so necessary and will have an impact on the US for much longer than President Trump's presidency and anything else. So just, keep in mind how important this is. And when I hear people say, yeah, but some other people should do it, well, nobody's doing it. A traditional CEO, and if you need that, go into those stocks, is not having this warrior character and is not, so implicated in finding the truth and getting us to a better place. Now, much more news specific. Both Elon and President Trump are alpha males. So we all could see this coming. We've actually talked about a couple of months ago, how long will this last? And here we are. Did we think it would be that entertaining? Probably not, but here we are. President Trump now suddenly making up that Elon is fighting for EV credits is disgusting. I mean, I'm really utterly disgusted by the president I voted for, because we all know Elon couldn't care less for subsidies. He said that for years. He never asked for them, and he never, encouraged them. So, and I can tell you one thing, there are other EV makers that will suffer from them. It will not have an impact on Tesla if those subsidies go away. And it's been 6 months that everybody's known that they will go away. So, I mean, this is crazy. And we've actually, in a cabinet meeting in March, end of March 2025, President Trump said, oh, Elon never asked me for anything. He could have come and asked me, but he never came. So, he's just saying different things at different moments. I think he's today completely furious and invents stuff, but I don't believe a second that Elon asked for EV credits to be put back in there. He may have said it is really incredible that the gas and oil subsidies are still in there, which it is, but it was certainly not for personal gain. So that's a blatant political lie, and I'm really disappointed in President Trump. Elon bringing up the Epstein files is comparable to a news nuclear bomb, right? Because these stories have been running around, President Clinton, whatever, and then, but President Trump was, more or less not associated from it. He came from a corner from the Democrats with some pictures and stuff, but you never knew how fake that was. So this is a real bomb, and it's going to be actually interesting for me, who loves to analyze media, how the different medias are going to react to this, whether they're actually taking this story, whether they're digging into it, or whether they're just trying to ignore it, because I think this is going to be very interesting how they react to it. I saw some polls on X where 50-50 people believed the story, 50% did not. And I think that is about the reaction of at least the X crowd towards, is Elon right in this case, or is Trump right in this case? I wish he wouldn't have gone on that, on that level, because it's just, it's getting too personal, and it's getting too difficult to recuperate after that. So the logical consequence is that Epstein file is actually the founding tweet or the founding post of a third party. This is the final stone in his relationship with the Republicans. With the Democrats, he's been done for a while already. But this, the fact that he put this tweet out, followed it up with a second tweet so that he's not just going to delete it. Here he is saying, mark this. I think this is the founding post of a third party. Now, coming to a third party, it is extremely difficult in the United States to build a third party and to win with a third party. So if there is one man who can do it, it is going to be Elon, but it's not going to be simple. So we will have, after the Twitter overhang, after the Doge overhang, we will now have a third party overhang. I just want to warn everybody that that's going to come, because one thing I've learned with Elon, once he sets his mind to it, there is no going back. And he set his mind to it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have posted that tweet. So setting up the third party is relatively easy, but then you are in high state ballot access requirements for Texas, from Maine, for a lot of different states. And then you need to build the whole organizational infrastructure. And then, of course, you need to gain the electoral support. And then the biggest challenge is obviously the electoral system and the electoral college. So the two parties that are currently in place have put everything in place, and we can discuss this for hours, to prevent third parties. So it will really take an earthquake to break this up. While it's overdue, I think everybody agrees this is overdue, and it's overdue to limit the power both Democrats and Republicans have, and all these dinosaurs and all this political apparatchik people and the deep state. Taking this now head on, and taking this head on in June 2025 is going to be monstrous. And so if you're not in, and if you don't see, the long-term value of Tesla, who hasn't changed, if you don't understand, everything that is going to come and will come anyway, despite all of this, and if you don't want a stock that will have high volatility in the weeks and months to come, you probably in a good moment to actually exit the stock. And I don't like saying that, but I also don't want people to lose their sleep over a now even more politicized stock and a roller coaster that's really going to be in. I'm all here for it. I continue to believe 100% in Tesla, and I'm all in Elon. But I have to admit, I completely see why people may find this is a moment where it is too much for them to bear. Here I am.
Okay. Alexandra, thank you for going through all that. Good analysis. At the end of the day, though, right, you're saying that you're going to stick to the stock. You think that it's what's the right term for you? Like, you're calm about this. You're not going to overreact. You think that it's not going to impact it like some people think.
I actually think the stock will react for a while. I think there is going to be a lot of volatility. It was selling today, which was mostly automatic, just because some support levels were broken. But you will see some big players that are going to reduce their positions just because the volatility is going to increase. So I suspect this volatility to go on for a while. Actually, could very well be that the stock slides further, could be another 10%, 15%, I don't know. But I do expect the stock to do something. Could be a good moment for other people to get in. I have always shared my personal position. I still have half of my 401k to invest this year. I always said, I'm waiting. Well, did I know? But I'm still waiting. So, and I will always let you know when that moment has come that I get back in. But at the moment, I'm not investing yet. But I'm certainly not getting out of the stock. Everything I have is well put there. I don't even consider it money at the moment. It's just my Tesla stock, and I'm not going to touch it. I'm certainly not going to create a taxable event for this. So for me, I'm continue to be all in, and the little liquidity I have left to invest, I'm still waiting when to put it in.
Okay, thank you. Let's have Cern go next, because I know that Joe and I have very different opinions. So let's go ahead, Cern. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think for me, this is pretty straightforward. This is a fake fight. I think we're actually sort of wasting our time getting into the nitty-gritty details of all this. Nothing that Trump and Musk levy at each other has any importance. Obviously, the U.S. government cannot, eliminate their contracts with SpaceX. Biden didn't do it because it didn't make sense. It's not possible. It's dumb. Obviously, SpaceX is not going to decommission Dragon. That's not going to happen. Every one of these other tweets we could go through and we could, deconstruct them and just look at how ridiculous they are. So for that reason, I think this is a completely manufactured, made up fight. I think in some ways this is a test for everybody. Test for shareholders. It's a test for the media. But the purpose of this, based on what I can see with what's unfolded today, clearly they want to try to put some pressure on the Republican Party. So you manufacture this fake feud between Musk and Trump, and then you go from there. So we may still be in the early days of this fake feud, but I don't believe it for a second. I don't think that their relationship has fallen apart. And, again, you look at all the messages flying back and forth between them. The Epstein thing, there's a photo of Trump with Epstein. I mean, okay, so yes, he's associated with Epstein. How is this breaking news? almost everybody in leadership has been associated with Epstein in some way, or have a photograph with him. The guy was everywhere. So again, there's nothing in that accusation that is dropping a nuclear bomb on anybody. It's just noise. So I'll leave it there. I think Joe probably can articulate much more eloquent thoughts than that.
Okay.
I totally
just want to prep everybody that I have completely different opinion than what you just said and what Joe's about to say. So go ahead, Joe.
I absolutely agree with Cern. And I give you some hints. Number one, when you look at how organic that flow was or inorganic, like there was an escalation, and the last tweet or truth by Trump was the least escalating thing, right? He said, after all that stuff happened, Epstein here, blah, 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 all the crazy stuff. Oh, Elon just, he just misses the White House and he totally sucks. And then in the end of that escalation, Trump says, what you just showed, I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, blah, blah, blah. I didn't create the mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country on a path to greatness. Make America. This makes all no sense, right? If you have an escalation, why would you stop the escalation with the least escalating tweet? And then Elon with the Epstein files, I absolutely agree with Cern and disagree with most of people on X. Like, oh my God, there's no going back from there. I mean, Alexandra said it too. There's nothing in there. Like, of course, he's in the Epstein files because he knew him. Everyone knows it. It's not a big deal. Of course, he's covered in that. So what's even the deal? So I think the big question is, why is this all happening if it's manufactured? I think, basically, I think if you ask cui bono, who's benefiting from this whole thing, I think separating Trump and Elon is actually beneficial for Tesla at this moment. It's not good to be super identified and synonymous with the US government for Tesla. I think it's better to have a arm's length relationship to get the libs back on board, to not piss China off too much, especially if there's like some tough trade negotiations happening. I think it's just beneficial to be a little more distant. And you can't just create and I think to Alexandra's point, Elon is very serious, and it's not manufactured, that he's very concerned about the debt and the deficit, and that he's super disappointed with the GOP, and that he's not alone with that, but every Wall Street executive, every Silicon Valley executive, listen to the All In podcast, everyone who knows anything about finance knows, okay, we are at the turning point. If you pay 25% of your tax income in interest, you're finished. If you continue on that path, and not finished in 20 years, you're finished soon. And I think that scares everyone a lot who knows anything about money. We are at the point where something has to happen. And so I don't know if the third party is going to happen or whatever is going to happen. I think they're going to give it a real try to turn the GOP around, but there's not much time for that. So I think that is a serious fight, but it's not a fight between Elon and Trump. It's a much bigger fight about the future of America and how the whole thing works. And so finally, when it comes to Tesla stock, I think it's an absolute non-event for me. And we disagree with Herbert, and me disagree on that, but I think it's a total non-event. Nothing changes on the thesis. The risk for Tesla stock is that robotaxi doesn't scale, and there's a hiccup and there's a major delay, and it turns out you can't get to millions of these things in any time soon. That's for me a thesis changing event if I come to that conclusion, but I don't think that's going to happen. And in the end, the thing that forces the stock towards 1,000 or whatever will be that there's hard, cold cash coming into Tesla. Right? No one cares about all these little fights here. They have a beautiful product. They have Optimus coming up. The only question that counts, in my opinion, is when are these things unlocked and what is the timeline and the scale of that? Everything else is total noise, unless it affects these timelines. But to Cern's point, I don't see anything here affecting these timelines from the Trump perspective.
Okay. Interesting that you guys have that opinion. I think what I'm about to voice is probably, we'll find out, right? What percentage of the Tesla investors feel what you guys have said versus what I think it is. So the chances that this is all 4D chess, that Elon and Trump have manufactured this and planned this out, I'd give it 5%. The more likely thing is that it is what it is. That what's happening is you can see it building, right? With Elon saying, I'm working very hard with Doge. And then you've got this bill coming out that shocked him, and that they purposely, this is not manufactured, how quickly that the Speaker of the House kind of like shepherded this bill through without even any of the Congress Republicans having a chance to read it. It's not, he didn't care about the EV credits being removed. That was just a slight, a push by Trump. But this idea that these two are manufacturing this, no. You got the most powerful man, both of them, the most richest man, both of them, having their egos. This happens. He got rid of Jared Isaacman. That kind of like started irking Elon. Then he said what he said, right? I cannot hold it anymore. This bill is bad for America. I need to speak up. Then war words happen, escalates. When Elon's starting to say to you that I'm going to start a third party political party, that reminder to the Republican congressman that President Trump is only going to be in power for 3.5 years. I'll be here for 40 years. It's a warning that if you vote against this bill, I can go after you. For him to then throw President Trump into the Epstein files category, that's no longer fun and games. This is no longer a manufactured thing. We're at DEFCON kind of level here. You've got President Trump coming back and saying, we're going to cancel your contracts. Yeah, okay. We'll see if it doesn't happen or not. But, the power of the president is strong. Elon has not yet gotten federal framework approval. He's not yet gotten kind of like anything can happen with regards to having approval for the robots. Who knows, right? President Trump could put pressure on to Texas and saying, we'll give you these subsidies, or we'll remove these, or we'll punish you if you continue to allow Tesla from launching their robotaxi program. This is playing with fire. And sometimes, and we've seen this before, Elon has done this over and over and over again. This wasn't always, 4D chess, strategic plans. When it comes to business, that I know he's give it a lot of thought. And when he does that, we'll succeed. But when it comes sometimes to, I'm going to take the company private, these kind of things, he didn't plan that out, and he regretted it. He said already in the past, I shoot myself in the foot more often than I want to. So, this is something that he is not thinking about the company. He's thinking about humanity and America. So he says, I cannot hold back. I need to talk about the bill. I cannot support it. This is what's happened. Now there's consequences that come out of that. Now there's this major fight. So hopefully you guys are right that this is manufactured and they're actually not angry with each other and they planned it all together for some sort of strategic reason. But I think at the end of the day, it is what it is. What you see happening in front of you, it is what it is.
I'm with you that this is not manufactured. Up to yesterday morning, I could still see it manufactured. Today, for me, this escalated way too much, especially when the Epstein tweet came out, for it to be manufactured. It just, it got to a proportion where it's not anymore. The threat of the third party is real. It's actually real for everybody who wants to be reelected. Now, where I join Joe is the bill is currently in the Senate, right? It has gone through the House. It's actually a different text that's in the Senate, and then it will go in reconciliation. So the moment Elon chose was not chosen by accident. It is still possible to vote on this bill. It's still possible to amend certain points of the bill. So, it won't be then ready for the 4th of July celebration that President Trump wants, but it is still a moment where it is discussable. Where I agree with you is the Jared Isaacman canning was a first sign of trouble, clearly a first sign of trouble. And I think Elon realized in that very moment, because it happened at the moment he left officially his government interim position, is with President Trump, and that has always been his weakest point. It is always the last man talking. You will talk to people, advisors to him, who even went to prison because they defied subpoenas, that their biggest disappointment in the man, in our current president, was that whoever talked the last got the benefit of the next decision. And while Elon had his ear for a long time between November and April. He obviously lost his ear since. And obviously, I think today he lost it definitely. The other precursor was Elon's relative nonchalant moments in Saudi Arabia, right? With Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and all that on that trip, where Sam Altman was there as well. You had the feeling already there something was broken. It wasn't this enthusiasm anymore. I mean, he was received like a king, the position he deserved, but the relationship with Trump and the relationship with the whole delegation, there was something already, palpably different. So, it exploded, and I think it exploded really. I don't agree with Joe and Cern that this is just fake. I do believe it exploded and it's been done. But the threat of the third party has never been that real, and it is a threat to every Congress member. Congress member, obviously the House is elected every 2 years, Senate always a third, so everybody for 6 years. People want to be reelected. There are currently no term limits. They all get rich of it. I mean, I have no idea how they get rich of it. They all get out of there, richer than rich. And they all want to stand there and stick together. A third party is not what they want. So that is a real threat. This is not just I'm throwing something out and it will never come to fruition. If he puts the money and the willpower behind it, it's going to be tough for Tesla shareholders. It's going to be a third party overhang, I can tell you. But if he puts the money and the willpower behind it, this is the only and the first time I may see this happening. And if it does, it's for the good of everybody, because we have to stop this, bipartisan way of how Washington is currently run. I think it's the best thing that could happen to us. But as a shareholder, buckle up.
I would say that you two have just made the case that Joe and I were making. Perfectly, brilliantly. Right? If you're trying to get the Republicans to change their ways, you've got to put pressure on them. And this is exactly what has happened. If Elon is truly serious about creating a third party, if you thought Doge was hard, creating a third party is 10 times the challenge that Doge was. That's why I don't think this is real. And by the way, if Elon was serious about creating a third party, I don't think he'd be tweeting about it today. Elon and Trump are both putting pressure on the Republicans. Therefore, this is a manufactured feud.
Including the Epstein tweet? I mean, that's the one that brought me over the Rhine.
That's garbage. That is, there's already photos of Trump with Epstein.
Also,
there's no substance to that.
Yeah, I want to come to the support of Cern, of course, because I think, the first thing when we talk about manufactured and conspiracy is to understand the nature of a conspiracy or something manufactured. It doesn't mean they're sitting there. Last Friday is like, aha, Elon, let's tweet this, and I tweet this. It's more like an instinct that both have and silently agree without even being totally sure that they agree, but they know this would be actually the best scenario. If Elon can run with it and create maximum pressure on these people, and Elon and Trump distance himself by creating a little war so the GOP can't get too mad at Trump, everything wins. Everyone wins. So when I think about these manufactured conspiracies, I don't believe they're sitting there. I'm thinking, oh, these are all power optimizing creatures, and they just simulate, okay, if this happens, is it better for me, or if this happens? And this is the best, potentially the best outcome here. And I think the reason for it is, think about what you could have said to hurt Trump and then compared with the Epstein stuff. The Epstein stuff is like, there's no news here. Everyone knows it. Nothing. There's not even a tech. If Elon would have said, oh, you promised to end the war in Russia, Ukraine, you totally failed. That's a whole different level, right? This hurts Trump if he says that, because it's an act of failure. If he says you're controlled by Israel, you're caving on Gaza or something, that's deadly. Like, that creates real problems for Trump. So Elon could have said a whole range of things that are actually hurting Trump. And Epstein is probably the thing that hurts him not at all. It sounds very bad, but it has zero impact on anything, in my opinion. Like, who didn't know that this photo and all these videos exist of of Epstein and Trump. So I think it's a beautiful little fake news thing that sounds very tough, but has no effect. So if you wanted to hurt Trump, you could have said all kinds of things, and that would actually have been bad. So
And further,
yeah,
Joe,
I don't know about the third party, maybe not, but I agree that if you realize how bad this whole situation is with the bill and the deficit, and you want to do something about it, that's the only way to get it potentially done, what they're doing right now.
and also the things that Trump said about Elon today are provably false. There's nothing in there that Trump said that has any merit whatsoever, but it's fodder for the media and they will lap it up. But it's so obviously and provably false. None of anything that Trump said today has any meaning or merit or doesn't hurt Elon at all.
Yeah. And I'm sure same thing for Trump. Trump probably knows stuff or could have said stuff that hurt Elon. That's what I mean. Like, I'm sure that he could have said something that's actually bad for Elon. And this whole EV credit is so ridiculous that it's like, who cares? Like, it's just wrong. So, I mean, that's my sanity check, right, Herbert? Like, if they would really hate each other, they could have said very different things that are actually bad.
What he posted, you know, that he posted that Trump should be impeached and Vance should replace Trump. Did you see that? He just tweeted that about a short hour ago.
He reposted something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he reposted Ian's, yes.
The hours is short. We still have the rest of the day to happen. This is blowing up right in front of our eyes. You know, people can try to read into all this. At the end of the day, it really is what you're seeing. The 90% of the time, it is what you're seeing, and you're going to go, that's not what's happening. They are, strategizing or something like that. End of the day, you can see one tweet, and you can see the next tweet, and you can see the fight happening in front of your eyes. This is more likely to be real than manufactured. So I just cannot, everything you both have said about, oh, they could have said that, and they would have said that instead. No, this is pretty strong. I'm going to cancel your contracts. Well, then fine. We'll decommission the Dragon. You're part of it. The reason I'm going to butt up. He's part of the Epstein files. That's why he hasn't released it. I mean, he's picking and choosing what he's going to do, and Trump's going to come back at him. I don't know why you guys can't see what it is. I don't want it to be true. I hope you're right.
Agree.
I agree
with you that it's true. I agree with you that it's true. So we're really 2 against 2. I also think that Elon has been, for the last 6 months, been way too diplomatic for his character and is so happy to lash out, like, the tariffs is crap and this is crap and that should have never happened and whatever. So this is going to go on for a bit, which gives me the feeling this is real. This was overdue for him to boil it out and bring it out. We'll see. I mean, maybe you're right.
So,
they can't just make up tomorrow. This is not middle school. I can tell you that. Yeah. This is not just...
Well, yeah, I was hoping that one way that they can come out of this would be, Elon and Trump apologizing to each other, right? And then Elon saying, okay, if you want the big, beautiful bill to pass, then you've got to let me have my way to at least save the economy with the GDP. You have to fast track robotaxi and fast track robots. Then great. Right? That could be one way that they all win. But so you're saying, okay, so your guys are saying, number one, it's manufactured. Okay, fine. Let's say we can play both scenarios out. How does this impact Tesla investors? How does this impact the chance that, I think, Cern, you said that you don't think it's going to impact Tesla at all. I mean, and I'm like, wait, if this is real, Trump could do things that could derail federal framework, derail robots, derail AI, derail Elon, if they, and then it's going to be a true fight of who has the real power here.
If it's real, you're right, but it's not real. It's manufactured.
Okay.
And
right.
Again, he doesn't have as much power as you think. The Democrats 20 to 2024 hated Elon to a point of no return. Warren was out there whenever she came on CNBC. It was blasting against Elon. And yet, Tesla progressed. And yes, FSD progressed. And yes, so, there's always this understanding the president of the United States is so ultra powerful. He has the pen for executive actions, and he has about 5 topics on which he has a real influence. But there are 25 topics in this world, and the rollout of humanoid robots is not one of the things he can do. And Tesla is still singularly well positioned to have the best results in this tariff war. So there is still, all of the fundamentals that were in place a week ago are today still in place. And I don't see anything, major that can be canceled. Maybe a little bit tougher for SpaceX, but than for Tesla. But for Tesla, I don't see anything major. The president can now just like that, cancel. And then talking about Congress, I work in immigration. In immigration, we have a really bad immigration law since 1990, 35 years, and we still can't come up with a new law. So if you hope that Congress is now suddenly quickly making up a new law to stop robots or to stop autonomous drive, you must be kidding. That's not how it works. On top of it, there's one thing that is a silver lining in all that. He sure finds more support among Democrats today than a week ago, right? So this is not just a binary play. This is a triangular play. And again, I don't see anything fundamental for Tesla that has changed. I think you're worried that President Trump or Congress can immediately do a lot of things to hurt Tesla. Show me one thing they can do. Show me just one.
A couple things that I was worried about. Again, I don't want to worry about these things. I just want to be, have a little bit more fuller conversation here. Texas right now is allowing Tesla to launch robotaxi pilots. If Trump says to the Texas governor, we will give you this or we'll take away this if you continue to allow Tesla to do that, maybe he'll influence him. Didn't Trump just recently make a statement about Apple, very specifically, just for Apple, for your iPhones? If you don't make them in the United States, we will tax your iPhones. Can he do that? Can he create a tax specifically targeting one company?
He cannot. He cannot. He has to go through Congress, and which has never happened. Now, for Texas, this is a state decision. And Elon always explained the second state to do that is going to be California. Believe me, one thing is California today is much more likely to give him any permission than yesterday morning, right? This is, a president does not have as much power as you all think. He is very powerful in immigration. That's why it's one of his main topics. He's very powerful on tariffs. That's one of the presidential powers. But he doesn't have a power to tell a Texas state what authorization. I'm not saying there may not be shenanigans going on. There always are. But it's certainly not something he can do with a stroke of a pen just publicly. And I still maintain you give him too much credit, actually, to President Trump for being able to do that. He doesn't have that much power. Look at how any decision he takes on immigration, which is really a subject for which he is mandated to act, gets put in question by district judges in whatever corner of the United States. It's to the point that it's frustrating. So if you believe 1 second that everybody would leak together with President Trump to block Tesla, you're mistaken. There will always be a district judge who will stop him if ever he's trying something really crazy.
What does Tesla get out of this, guys? So what is appearing today? What is appearing today? What is appearing today is Tesla. Elon has had the liberals very upset with him, vandalizing cars. Then you've got now the Republicans upset with him. Where exactly do you think that, why would Elon agree and manufacture this with Trump? Where does he get out of this?
Well, Elon's coming from deep-seated principle, right? He's very concerned about the survivability of the United States, right? That he's made that clear. And so he's operating from that level. He's not looking to get anything out of this for Tesla. And if it's manufactured, then it's not going to hurt Tesla in that sense, because Trump is solidly on his side. I sort of view this as if we're looking at a chessboard, and people will throw out this word 4D chess. If Trump is the king, then Elon's probably his greatest knight, right? And he's used them for Doge, and they got only so far with that. The rest of the GOP, have not allowed, the savings to persist there. There's been roadblocks probably at every turn. And so now we have this bill. And so how does Trump exert pressure on the GOP? Well, the one way to exert pressure on them is to think that they're all going to get voted out in the midterms, right? And how do you all get voted out? By not doing anything that the American public wants. You create this manufactured fight to put pressure on the GOP. Again, there's nothing that Trump said today that, in my opinion, materially hurts Tesla. Right? Trump talking about taking away the EV subsidies and credits, nothing new. If he really wanted to hurt Elon, he would be saying, oh, EVs are dangerous, we're going to take them off the roads. The fire risk, there's a ship off the coast of Alaska right now that has 600 EVs on it that's burning. We can't have these in our country anymore. Or we're going to end autonomous vehicles. These are unsafe. Look at all the videos of Tesla vehicles crashing. That's the kind of stuff that Trump is capable of. He didn't go there today. And therefore, that's why I think this is not a real fight between the two of them. But it is a fight between them and the Republicans, because they have to get this bill trimmed down. And if they don't, Elon is worried that the United States is going to go bankrupt sooner rather than later. That, to me, is the focus of this, not between Trump and Elon and all the other stuff that we're talking about. That has no bearing on this at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's important to not get hung up too much with this word manufactured, like, because it might be construed as, oh, they have a secret basement where they plan this out together, but it's not what it looks like from the outside. There is no hate between these two, and they're not trying to hurt each other. It's fake news. There might be some conflict that might be construed. It benefits both, and I think it's targeted towards the bill. But I think there's also strategically an interest of Elon to be a little more arm's length to everyone, to get the liberals back, to not annoy the Chinese too much. Like, there's only benefits in this whole thing to distance himself a little bit. Now, why is it a fight?
Even the Europeans,
Exactly.
they'll be happy.
Exactly. So and then to Herbert's concerns, even if there is a conflict, like, Trump is very busy. He has to deal with Ukraine, with Putin, with Netanyahu, with all kinds of insane stuff. He's not going to go out of his way to construct like a war against Tesla, because it's a lot of work. He has to figure out, oh, I have to go to Duffy and tell Duffy he has to stop that. Then I have to check on Duffy. Did he really stop that? Like, who does that? So, unless there's a real war. And if there's one thing I'm 100% convinced, is that there's absolutely not a real war between Trump and Elon. The worst case is that they're a little pissed right now and they're shooting back and forth some stuff, but there's no sustainable aggression.
What would make both of you guys change your mind?
If the comments change, if it becomes serious, right? If they start saying things about each other that actually hurt them, which they didn't. If Elon says, I think Trump talks a lot, but he gets nothing done. Look at Ukraine. Like, he talks a lot, but he's, he's controlled by Israel. Then it gets serious. If Trump starts saying the things Cern mentioned, like, oh, autonomous vehicles are very dangerous, they can never happen. These are much more dangerous things.
The last thing that Elon posted was he reposted a video of Trump with Epstein. Again, nothing new. It appears to hurt Trump because it's coming from Elon, but it's already out in the public sphere. There's nothing new in that video. Right? So they're fighting, quote unquote, with things that we've already known about. Don't matter. Yeah, don't matter.
Like, think about it, Herbert. Like, imagine Elon, and Elon is not dumb. He could do it if he wanted. Imagine he would say, Trump is a paper tiger. He pretends he has the global conflicts under control, but I know what's going on there. He has nothing under control. That's really bad stuff.
Yeah. Okay. But how about investors in Tesla? So yes, it dropped. I think you said it's only the 10th worst day only.
It's the worst day. Yeah. It's the worst day in dollar terms.
In dollar terms, in percentage terms, here, Cern created this line. The red line is today, June 6th. 14.3% down. That's the Trump fight. The worst day was September 8th, 21.1% because of the Standard & Poor. But you've got a company that you want shareholders to invest in, you don't think that this is damaging to the company in terms of some people no longer wanting to invest in this?
Well, this is why I say this is a test for all of us, because we need to put this into perspective and in its proper place. In my opinion, this is not about Tesla. Okay, and again, we can conjure up all kinds of risk factors and all kinds of stuff, right? No problem. But again, in my opinion, this is squarely focused on putting pressure on the GOP. If they don't shape up and deal with this bill and reduce the expenses, they're going to get voted out of office, and Trump's going to be a lame duck president. And I don't think anybody in the Republican Party wants that. But yet they don't seem to get that message yet. And so they've got to find a way to get that message across so that the GOP fix this bill.
And actually, the right-wing media is on Elon's side. If you listen to Fox yesterday, they all say Elon is right. Let me just put that chart up in percentage term. I just want to remind everybody what happened on the worst day, right? And I remember that vividly because the Cern's chart, not this one is in dollar terms, the other one is in percentage term. And the highest percentage day was 21% in September 2020. I remember it vividly because people, it was sort of my beginning as an influencer, and obviously people with rating agency experience were rare, so people came flocking to me, and I said, well, they're bastards. You will see in 3 months they will put it in. And 3 months later, they put it in. So that day, the stock dropped 21%. Everybody said, this is the end of it. We'll never get into the S&P. And 3 months later, we were in it, right? So this is the sort of short-term thinking you have in Wall Street and the impact it has on a volatile stock like Tesla. So like I said earlier, if you remember all these bad days, and even I wouldn't be able to put dates and context on all of them, this one shall pass as well. There is no doubt in my mind. I'm still not 100% on board that this is all manufactured. I listen to you guys, and you may have a point. I think it went beyond the manufactured. I think it may have started manufactured, but it sort of became very personal here. But this has zero impact, in my view, on Tesla's medium and long-term ability. So if you believe in that thesis, and if you know that Tesla is going to execute, wait for your buying opportunity.
Let me ask you guys this question. Let's just say for a second this is real. Okay, I'm not flipping sides. I'm just trying to think about the other side and think this through. Let's say Trump and Elon now have a hatred for each other. Okay? Why would Elon, on the cusp of the most important rollout of his company's history, choose now to go after Trump? I don't think Elon is that dumb. We may accuse Elon of all kinds of things. I don't think he's that dumb. Right? That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, sure, you don't like the bill. Fine. But do you sabotage your company because you don't like a bill going through Congress? I mean, really? Is that what we think is really going on, that Elon would willingly sabotage Tesla for the sake of one bill in Congress? I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense. Elon is far too calculating for that. And that's really what we're saying. If we're truly worried that Elon and Trump have come to blows, that's what Elon's doing. Right? Like that's the logical conclusion. If they're truly fighting, this is horrible for Tesla. But really, do we really think that Elon is going to do that to his company? I don't think so. It doesn't make any sense. That's just my simplistic way of looking at this. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. You look at one side and you say, that doesn't make sense, therefore it has to be the other.
So the pressure is now on the Senate, right? I mean, the House is over with. And they had to put a bill that was winnable in the House because there's such a tiny majority in the House, and there were a couple of GOP members that already were against it. They knew that. So your timeline, Cern and Joe, is okay. They passed the House. It's big and beautiful where it should be slim and beautiful. Now it's going to the Senate. As I explained earlier, that's actually a different text. I mean, there's stuff in there, but it's not identical, right? So the Senate still has amendment powers, but even bigger. So it has to vote on that Senate version. Then comes reconciliation. And so where the pressure really is on the reconciliation process, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think the calculus here is, I think the calculus on Elon's side is that there is a chance that this is super important. It needs to get fixed. If it doesn't get fixed, there's a major problem with yields, with bonds, with all kinds of things, right? And even a lot of other people say that too. And they're seeing the reconciliation process and the next processes here as, and I'm actually not that fully informed what the options on the table are, the solutions. I'm sure there are some solutions floating around, Rand Paul and everyone. So I think it would be probably worth the exercise to look into what's actually on the, is there a reasonable solution that is possible? Because, you know, is there any blueprint presented by anyone that has any chance of actually happening and fixing parts of the problem? That is the big question. Because, you know, the question is, if that's such a big battle here that we want to win somehow, can we win it? Because we know how complicated that is. Because that bill passed only with one vote, right? So it's I mean, the question, is this whole thing winnable, is an interesting question. Because if it's not winnable, what's the point of the whole thing?
They must feel that it is. Again, I would question if it's not winnable and they go down this path, then we've got to question their sanity. Are we as shareholders really questioning Elon's sanity at this point? Has it come to that? Now, I know for many it already has a long time ago. Fine. They sold the stock.
I mean, so it would be interesting for me to figure that out, right? So, I mean, what is floating around? Is it winnable or not? Can we determine that? Maybe that's worth, like, over the weekend to look into. What is there any reasonable path politically? Is there a blueprint? Is there enough support for something? Because if I have no clue right now. If I see a reasonable, winnable path where I see, oh, there are a bunch of people supporting it, we need that many, and they're already nearly there, this all completely makes sense. If it's completely impossible, like they got it with one vote through and it's completely impossible to change anything that cannot go through, then I don't know exactly what to think. So I would hope it's winnable, but I think I could do more analysis on it to actually increase my conviction. I don't know if, Alexandra, if you know anything about the details of that thing.
Usually, you know, I mean, the problem we have always with President Trump is that he talks too much and too loudly. And so he was already given a timeline of this is going to be approved and going through reconciliation by July 4th. That's in less than a month now. And it's, in my view, absolutely impossible to make any changes and have that timeline. So for Trump, it is, as of today, a loss anyway. He lost in the public eye, maybe you're right, not in private, but in the public eye, he lost his biggest ally, and he lost either the big beautiful bill or his timeline, right? I just, you know, I can't see this bill passing and him still getting a lot of credit for it. So the way this was set up, I know you all think it's still a setup. For me, is too impulsive, is too violent, is too quickly inflaming to think it was manufactured. I really believe, and so does actually the majority of Americans, that a third party is the only way out. The pinned post Elon now has is the third party, and 82% voted that there should be a third party. Now, I know this is X and this may not be the thing, but there are large parts of today's Republican and large parts of today's Democrats who don't want to stay Democrat or Republican, who want to come to a new party. So this is not as if, you know, you have to start everything from scratch. But again, the whole system is built against third parties. So this is a Herculean task if he really wants to take it on. And I do believe, as of today, he wants to take it on. So for me, it is much more is, do you want to live with a third-party overhang over the Tesla stock price for the next couple of months? And I do. I think this is, well worth it, and I stay in there. Or is this the moment where you just feel, okay, I've had my cup. I went through Twitter. I went through Doge, but I'm done now for the moment. I rather sit this out, and I can't blame you. Again, it's not my position, but I can't blame you.
But I still think, even with that, even if this third-party thing happens, and I didn't think this through yet, Alexandra, maybe you are right that it should happen to save America if this bill doesn't get fixed. I still think this stock will be driven by cash flow. And if robotaxi scales and there's a lot of money coming in, who cares about anything? So it's all about, while this is not happening, it's all going to be about emotions and YOLO trading or whatever. But I just had a video out today about the question, when is that point coming, right? When do we get to, let's say, 5% free cash flow through robotaxi of the 2024 total cash flow, or something like that, some big chunk with high growth where everyone says, okay, fine, it's happening. I think these questions are much more important. These are the forcing functions that no one can get around, because that's discounted cash flow models, right? And then Optimus, of course. And while this is not happening, we will fall victims to noise and FUD, of course, because the stock has to trade on something. So in that time frame, we are at risk, I agree, but that point is coming, hopefully soon, in my model at least. So that's what really counts. And if that goes wrong and it doesn't come for 3 years, we are just a little screwed midterm, right? No one can expect a stock to go up if the money doesn't come in. But if the money does come in, the noise will get drowned out. So in the end, that's why I agree with Cern, but also with Alexandra, that this is in the end noise.
It
increases volatility.
The problem with President Trump, I said earlier, is there's a lot of talk, right? And he's constantly overpromising. Also timelines. Funny, actually, because that's a point he has with Elon. And the problem is, he promised peace in Ukraine. We're not there yet. He promised peace in Israel. Well, we're not there yet. He promised that his big, beautiful bill is going to have a positive impact. At the moment, people are just hurt by the tariffs, right? So we're in this limbo phase where everybody's sort of, and for good reason, becoming impatient, right? Because there's only so much words can nurture, and we're in this phase where, well, if that big, beautiful bill doesn't get through, his whole house of cards that he's putting in place to get the economy on the right track is collapsing. And lots of these tariff deals that he thinks are undergoing are not going to happen. Why are the Europeans sitting this out? Why are the Chinese sitting this out? Because they want to see him weakened. And he's actually today weaker than he was, right? This emotional tweets, even if they're manufactured, and you're right, don't give him internationally any standing. People internationally are with Elon straight away and say, we always told you he's crazy, and here we go, right? And believe me, in Europe, Joe, you know it better than me, that Epstein tweet, that's going to make the headlines for the next 5 days. They're going to forget about the Nazi salute that they've been carrying for the last 3 months. Now they've got something new to go about. So right. And so the Trump agenda and the Trump promise to this huge economic boost and everything that's going to happen may evaporate much more for psychology. And this little war this morning is part of it, than for real reasons, right? If the tariffs are not coming quickly, if these wars are not getting settled, and if this big, beautiful bill doesn't bring the tax cuts and the economic stimulus that he's hoping for, the air is getting really thin for Trump, really, really quickly thin. And there's not just one winner, one loser here.
But I mean, at the same time, when it comes to this bill, I mean, there are a lot of people, everyone who's a little smart about finance, who doesn't like that bill. So, I mean, it might be a Pyrrhic victory, right? If he would get it through, because no one really likes it. Who's important? So, and bonds are under pressure with it and everything. So I think he's doing himself a disfavor to not fix it. Maybe he knows it, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. That's a good question.
I would just add, from the perspective of a Tesla investor, that, as Joe said, at the end of the day, Tesla will do well if the cash comes in. And no one likes to see the stock go down. Everybody likes the stock to go up. But it's true, for the last few years, Tesla has been trading at a pretty rich valuation on expectations of an even bigger future, right? And many of us believe that that future is very bright. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to deliver on those promises over time. I made a post today on X that talked about a study that a professor at the Arizona State University did. And he identified that since 1926, there is just 86 stocks that generated half of the total wealth generated in the stock market. Came from 86 companies since 1926, last 90 years, or last 100 years, actually, right? All of those companies did well because they produced real earnings growth, every single one of them, okay? At the top of the list for the last 20 years is NVIDIA, right? And we all know NVIDIA's story. They are killing it right now, right? They are producing the revenue growth, the earnings growth, the cash flow growth. At the end of the day, if Tesla doesn't do that, then the stock's not going to do well. So to get upset about 14% moves up and down right now, when the company isn't yet producing the earnings results that we've all been talking about and expecting, right, and hoping will come over the coming years. So this is just, again, this is just normal. This is just another test as an investor. It's another one of many with this company. And most Tesla investors right now have so many scars on them that, you know, for most of them, they'll probably just, you know, ignore this. But I know for many, from what the comments that I've seen earlier today, for many, this is the last straw. But all the other issues too were the last straw for those investors that sold. So anyway, just keep that in perspective. Let this play out, calm down, relax, focus on the company and what they will hopefully ultimately deliver. And I guess that's the question at the end of the day is, do you think what's unfolding right now is going to materially impede Tesla over the longer term? Or maybe even this year if you're short-term focused?
I have another crazy theory. So this is really crazy and out there, and it's not my number one scenario, but I've got another crazy theory. You know that the shareholder meeting is coming up. Oh, by the way, I need to correct something I said in earlier Cyber Bulls. I already corrected it Tuesday on X. When the proxy comes out, it's not 6 weeks afterwards that we vote, but 8 weeks. Okay, just making this clear. It was a mistake on my side. It's 8 weeks. So now we're June 5th. If it comes out today, it would be beginning of August. So June and July are already out for the whole thing. But as you know, the proxy is the definite text. So I think that's not the whole theory yet. I think the proxy is going to be even later now, because they have to have that text votable, right? They have to make sure that whatever they propose, compensation for Elon or a new earnings award thing for the directors who haven't been paid for years, you know, whatever it is has to stand scrutiny. The other thing is that, as I said earlier, this today will scare institutional investors. Institutional investors have risen to way above 55%, right? And us retail shareholders went down to 36%. I think this shakeup today is going to bring that back to equilibrium. I think institutions are going to go up, which for voting is probably a good thing, because retail is more behind Elon than ever, right? So this could actually be, I'm not going to say it, yes I am, the trump card for the shareholder meeting, because it may just rebalance our retail shareholder stake in that upcoming vote, but the vote is going to be even later. could even get into September now. Because this is, you're hashing this out. This proxy, I don't know how this board is going to get this out, because every day has so much new information. And like I explained earlier, the big points you want to check with the big investors, the Vanguards, the Fidelities, the State Street of this world, whether you get support. So whatever you tell them, well, today you can just go back and start all over again, because what you told them last week, they have something to say. They want to, feedback and want to make sure that they get heard. So this is, again, this is not my number one scenario, but this is going to have an impact.
It's like not even 4D chess, Alexandra. That's 6D chess. But interesting thesis. Even if it's not the plan, it might be the effect that institutional.
Okay. Well, I haven't spoken for a long time. I think I've just rehashed what I've been saying, which is, I wish you were all three correct. I really do. At the end of the day, I've been following Elon since 2012, just like you guys. Not everything he does is 4D chess. Not everything he does is strategically planned out. He has shot himself in the foot many times before. He's known to make tweets that he wishes he didn't make. So, your argument is that this is such a big deal that he would not have just done this to put the company threaten the company. On the same side, you've heard him say many times before that there's things more important. Right now, the most important thing is survival of the country and survival of humanity. And he devoted himself to Doge. And now he says, this bill is so big, it's so egregious, I need to do something about it, regardless, damn the consequences. I think, Cern, you're saying, no, he wouldn't do that. He's planned it all out. It's all planned out. No, I don't believe that. I can't. I wish you're right. I really do. I don't see it that way. So then, at one side, you guys are saying, doesn't matter. President Trump is not as powerful as he is. But on the other side, when he won and Elon, supported Trump, there was that whole, hey, that was 4D chess. Now Tesla is going to be able to take advantage of faster approval of federal framework, faster approval of AI, reduce regulations. But then now you guys are saying it doesn't matter. They really don't have that power to control that anyway. So which is it, right? So I'm not freaking out to the point that I'm going to sell all my shares. I'm not one of those people that have changed my conviction in Tesla, because at the heart of it, I am a business guy and product guy. Tesla is the winner in electric vehicles, and they're a massive winner in autonomy, and they're going to be even a bigger winner in robotics, the biggest markets in the world. The question now is, okay, you've picked the fight. The fight is unfolding in my mind. I wish it's false. I wish it's not true. But if it is false, I do think it could impact and delay. And that's what I'm worried about. So you guys are saying that, you're waiting for earnings, right? Quarter upon quarter earnings growth in the second half of next year. And that's what's going to move the stock. I've been saying that long time, agreed with you that sometime that point, the stock must rise regardless of what happens. The question is, can there be some sort of regulation that can delay this rollout of autonomy? Because it hasn't happened yet. It was about to happen now. So hopefully nothing can be done to stop it. But if there is, then everything we wish for could be pushed back. So, that's just, I think, the fairest kind of look at what's happening now. Everybody else is coming up with these ideas that, oh, it's fake. Oh, no, it's, there's a 4D chess going on here. Okay. The chance of those are much smaller than what we're seeing unfold.
I mean, I'm trying to quantify that risk and compare it with my other risks. And the key risk I'm seeing still today is that robotaxi just doesn't work as well as I think and doesn't scale as fast as I think. So I have to weigh these two things, right? So all that other stuff that can happen and this. And I don't see, if this doesn't really work and takes too long to scale, this is really bad for the stock, right? Obviously, because then the whole thing gets delayed. But if it works, then in my mind, it's how probable or likely is it they're launching this in Austin, and they will launch it next week in Austin, and it totally works and it's perfect, that some political framework or something can stop these things. It's just not really happening. That's how I view it, right? It's not, now that this is all on track and Sean Duffy is working on it, I think the Trump win had more upside than the fight with him, if it's real, has downside, because it's not just Trump that won, the entire administration was put in. Right, and that's a train you can't stop as Trump. You can't just tell all your secretaries to stop like doing something because it might benefit Elon. But if Kamala Harris would have won, I think it would have been a very different scenario. So, I don't think it's totally hypocritical to say there was definitely an up boost when Trump won, and the down boost, if there's a fight now, is not as big as the up boost was. And for me, it's really, I'm just going through the scenarios in my mind. What I'm most concerned about, it's really that it just doesn't work as well. Same for Optimus. Like if there's some problem and this thing never really works for the next 2 years, and that is a big game changer in a bad sense, right? That destroys my thesis. But if it works, how are you going to stop it?
Yeah, especially if it saves lives.
Yeah. And I've told you this already, Joe, I'm very confident that it works because I personally have been using FSD on my hardware for Model 3 for 4.5 months every day, 0 takeovers in Canada, in Portland, in Seattle, everywhere I take it. It's been now, for me, that's 4.5 months. So, the chances of it not working is a lot lower than the chance of it working based on my, anecdotal evidence. So for me, what I'm looking out for now is regulation. It's and I agree. I've always said this. Even if you don't have federal framework, Tesla stock is going to skyrocket. Tesla will succeed because there will be many states that will raise their hand and say, "I want to be first." The economics is too powerful for the states to ignore that, despite all these things we're talking about. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried more about Tesla specific regulation. When you have somebody who's upset, could throw in and wrinkle and things like that can happen. So
I want to reiterate that again. The power of a president is not at that level. So I would, I'm not saying he's not going to try, and I'm not going to, there will be many true social, what is it called, their posts or threats or whatever it is.
Truth.
About
truth.
Oh, there you go. There will be real truths. They're not so real, but they're there. But it is, it is unlikely that anything of that happens. For me, I think it's much more about the volatility of the third-party overhang, right? Because having seen now Elon so many times, when he sets his mind to it, remember when he bought Twitter, that is it.
Cool.
There is no going back. And so I have the utter conviction he wants to go for this third-party idea. It could be, I give that to Cern and Joe, that it's all a scare tactic, but knowing Elon, even if it would be a scare tactic, he would still do it so well that it could be operational. Now, again, I've said that at least 3 times already, I just want to say it again. A third party making it electable is Herculean. There's nobody who has ever, done this you can play the party that messes up national elections and goes in favor of one or the other that is less likely to win otherwise. But winning a third party is such a huge undergoing, yet it has a lot of public support, right? So if he puts the right people there, it's still a huge, because of the electoral college, because of the way different states need a certain number of representatives. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it favors very much the established parties who are just there, redundantly again and again and again on repeat basis. So, but I do believe his attention could very well focus on that. And that is not an issue for me, but if that is an issue for you, you should think about this.
By the way, I'm watching Elon's X. There's like a new repost here. Interesting. Naval Ravikant, Elon reposted. Elon's stance is principled. Trump's stance is practical. Tech needs Republicans for the present. Republicans need tech for the future. Drop the tax cuts, cut some pork, get the bill through. Elon likes it, reposted. So this is, I tell you guys, it's a game. They want to put pressure on the bill.
Yep.
Because you see,
Okay.
in a normal fight, you escalate the fight. This fight gets de-escalated. They ramp it up, and then Trump says, "Oh, by the way, I want the bill." And then Elon says Epstein, and then he says, "Listen, we want to get the bill designed." So,
Okay.
I think.
All right.
it's pretty-
Well, let's hope that you guys are both correct. Great points all around. We'll keep following this. It's developing. Appreciate everybody jumping online. I know there's lots of Tesla investors concerned, and I think what we've done here is represented different opinions. Appreciate everybody. Follow you guys next time. Check us out. See you at Cyber Bulls next week. Bye all.
Thanks, Herbert.
See you guys.